pronouncing your name incorrectly this whole time. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Okay. You could call me Glean. Just call me
Glean,
Glean.
Glean. I've had people come on and I'm like, okay, tell me how to pronounce it. And it just doesn't come out the same way. So I understand it's fine.
Okay.
As someone who strives for a healthy lifestyle, doing all the things I can fitness wise and what I put into my body, it's very important to me that people understand sometimes what is causing their cravings
Mhm.
or why they can't get their brain to do what they want it to do. So
Mhm.
you've got some insight on that. You've written books on it. And so share with anyone that might be listening to this that, maybe battling not just their weight, but just certain cravings for stuff, even when they're not really hungry.
And eating beyond their own best judgment.
Yeah.
Um, I will summarize
Yeah.
a lot of what we talked about in the last interview, and I'll try to make it so this will stand on its own.
Sure.
But I'd encourage people, if they want to go into the details, to listen to the
Let's
last interview. Okay. Um, First of all, I'm not just a doctor that wants to work with people to lose weight or have eating problems. I had a very serious problem myself. Spent 20 years trying to solve it, trying to love myself thin. That didn't work. I was also a consultant, unfortunately, on the wrong side of the war for the big food and big advertising industries, and was kind of in a unique position to see what they were doing, which is, really targeting the reptilian brain, trying to give us all these hyperpalatable sensations without giving
Mhm.
us the nutrition to feel satisfied. And when you look at what's going on in our society between that and the advertising industry being very effective at pressing those buttons, and the treatment industry saying that you can't really ever solve a craving on your own, that if you're really addicted to food, that you've got a chronic progressive mysterious disease that gets worse, in the closet while you're doing nothing about it. It's a perfect storm. It's a perfect
Uh-huh.
storm for overeating today. And the solution that I found is really twofold. And it took me a lot of years to find it. And I subsequently wrote a book. Book got really popular. I work with, about 2,000 clients. Um, and so this is not all something I developed by the method of rectal extraction, but very careful work with
Yeah.
consumers. And okay, so essentially, I recovered with the first half of the solution, which took me a lot longer because it was only the first half. And the first half of the solution is to create a very clear tripwire so you can distinguish between healthy eating and not healthy eating. Because, like my grandfather used to say, if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're probably going to hit something else, which was a paraphrase of Yogi Berra. So you got to know what's a healthy thought, what's an unhealthy thought, what's a healthy behavior, what's an unhealthy behavior. And so you might make a tripwire. My first one was, I will never have chocolate on a weekday again.
Mm-hmm.
That way I could organize my thoughts such that if I had a thought that suggested I worked out hard enough, even though it was a Wednesday, and I could have that chocolate bar at the counter if I really wanted to, a couple of bites were not going to hurt. I could just start tomorrow. I could say, wait a minute, that's not me. That's my inner food monster. It's moaning for Monster Mush. Chocolate on a Wednesday is Monster Mush. I don't eat Monster Mush. I don't let monsters tell me what to do. Wakes me up. Wakes me
Yeah.
up. It's a space between stimulus and response. Then I can say, what's wrong with what it's saying? So I take a couple of deep breaths to calm down. I write down why it says I should have it. Well, it'll be just as easy to start tomorrow. And then I ask myself after another few deep breaths, what's wrong with what it's saying? Why is that untrue or a lie? And there's usually a half truth with a bigger lie. So, for example, it's not just as easy to start tomorrow, because if you have a craving for chocolate today and you have the thought, I'll just start tomorrow, and then you reinforce that craving and the thought with chocolate, you're going to have a deeper craving for chocolate tomorrow. And you're going to be more likely to say, I'll just start tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only ever use the present moment to be healthy if you're in a hole, stop digging.
Uh-huh.
Clear so far?
So far.
Okay. I call that fixing your thinking,
Uh-huh.
or rational refutation. And that's how I recovered. It took me a bunch of years. I kept a journal, all the crazy things my Food Monster said and all the solutions to them.
Before we get any too much further, one of the first thoughts I'm thinking is that in this is that you have to be disciplined enough to take the deep breaths, pick up the pen, open the journal, and write the journal. And that, even though it sounds like it makes sense, there's a lot of times where that discipline just doesn't make any rational thought. Like, why would I go do that? I'm just going to crunch, crunch, crunch.
Yeah.
And then before you know, so what about that trick to like making sure you're taking that moment and being disciplined enough to write down why you think you should or should not do it?
You can sensitize yourself and prepare yourself to be able to do that.
Okay.
The brain wants to automate the acquisition of calories.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a big steaming hot plate of food in front of you, what's most natural is to, nom nom nom, dig in right away. That's most natural because food was scarce when we were evolving.
Yeah.
And so we had to get as much as we could before our competitors did. So nom nom nom. That's what's
Uh-huh.
most natural. So you're going to have to practice some things that are unnatural. For example, if every time before you eat anything, you just go 1, 2, 3, and call that exercising your pause muscle. 1, 2, 3. You'll get in the habit of pausing and kind of intervening in that automaticity of food behavior. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is get really angry at your food monster. You can say, this is not a matter of loving yourself thin. This is an organ in your body that generates a very powerful biological urge, kind of like your bladder does.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you really, really have to pee, you can put a pause there if you have to as an adult. I mean, most of us can. When you get older, it's a little harder. but, but you can put a pause there. And we've learned that it's necessary to do that to function in society. You can't just, if you're on the train, you got to walk over to the bathroom. You can't just,
Yeah.
drop and go. I mean, it sounds silly, but I want to remind people that there are other very powerful biological urges for which you can intervene. And you can make a list of all the things that the food monster is ruining in your life. Like for me, it was putting me at risk of diabetes and cancer and heart disease and a stroke. And it was taking away my confidence to walk around in the world as a tall, fit, thin leader. It was taking away my sense of peace and presence,
Mm-hmm.
because once I would break my plan, I started obsessing about how else I was going to break the plan and how was I going to make up for it, and
Right.
yada yada yada. My whole life became about food at that point. And so it was taking away so much from me that I got really mad. And if you switch from thinking about it like this wounded inner child to this thing that's really trying to take over your life and doesn't care about what you want and what you dream about and the people that you love, you say, wait a minute, I don't want the monster to be in charge. I don't want to be the monster's slave. I want to be its master. I want to be the master of my own destiny. And so you get this aversive reaction when you start to get those cravings and those thoughts that wakes you up, and it intervenes in that automatic behavior. So it's kind of a combination of practice, building that pause muscle, and developing a set of, just really being sick and tired of the food monster ruining your life. Now, some people's lives are not ruined to the extent that my life is ruined. Sometimes it's just eating a little beyond your own best judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, wouldn't it be nice to eat what you said you were going to eat rather than feel like you could lose a war with a bagel and not wake up for a couple of days?
Right.
Yeah.
At what point did you get to where you're like, no, this is ruining my life? What did it take? What was that final straw?
Um, so people think that when you hit bottom, quote unquote, that everything is going to turn around.
Mm-hmm.
I hit bottom multiple times and things didn't turn around because I had the wrong information. I thought I was sick. I thought I had to nurture my inner wounded child. So, I mean, I could tell you some of the worst times. One time I put a bunch of food in the garbage and I did some stuff to it, and then I took it out and ate it anyway.
Oh,
Um,
goodness.
there was another time I went to 7 different drive-throughs so nobody would know how much I was eating. Um, I mean, there were other things like that I felt like I would never get that low, and I did get that low.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're waiting for that bottom to turn you around, there are two problems with it. One is called bottom fishing,
Okay.
is you're trying to get it's almost like your food monster is trying to get as much junk in as it can before you stop eating it forever.
Uh-huh.
And that actually does more damage. You should always just use the present moment and, move forward. Um, and I forgot the other problem with it at the moment.
Fine. I've
But
always wondered about when people say, "Oh, I'll just like, for example, with a resolution, I'll start X date," and I'm always like, "Why not just start now?" Or when it comes to like the diet thing, I'll just continue to pile on the calories that I'm going to have to take off later. I'm like, "Why do that to yourself?
it,
Just stop." I,
if you're in a hole, stop digging, right?
right, right,
If you're
right,
in a hole, stop digging. Yeah.
right.
You can only ever eat now. Now is the only time you can put
Yeah,
food in your mouth.
yeah,
So now is the only time you can decide. It's
yeah,
absolutely true. It's
yeah.
absolutely true. So that was. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Did you want to ask
No, go
something?
ahead. Yeah. What else?
So fixing your thinking was half the story for
Yeah.
me. The other half, which I didn't realize until I'd worked with a few thousand people, um, and it came to my attention because there was a whole crew of people who would do really, really well for a month or two, and then stop using the techniques when I would follow up at 6 months or a year.
Hmm.
And I said, "Why are you doing that?" Because it works so well when you follow it, and I didn't understand why people would let go of it, because I didn't. I really,
Mhm.
every now and then I might make a mistake, but I would never say, "Screw it, I don't want to use this anymore." And it turned out that there was this response I call the "screw it, just do it" response.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, what the hell? I don't have any more excuses, but I
Yeah.
just really, really want to. Screw it, just do it. Right. And I thought, what's behind that? Turns out that what's behind that is what I'd call organismic distress,
Okay.
which is inadequate nutrition, not enough sleep, too many decisions impinging upon your senses every day, feeling isolated from your tribe or loved ones, not getting enough water, all the types of things that we intuitively know we need to attend to self-regulate, that we experience as a much vaguer term called stress. But it's really organismic distress. And the reason that that is capable of making you forget your best laid plans is because 100,000 years ago, we had to have the capacity to react to emergencies quickly.
Mhm.
And so if the brain perceived there was an emergency, a hungry tiger running at you, or a scarce caloric opportunity, maybe there was an awful lot of calories that it found in a small space that was available for not that much effort, it had to be capable of pushing the rational brain out of the way and saying, this is not time to sit and think and strategize and follow your long-term plans for health and fitness and weight loss, or, Thag pursuing Martha, in the cave. This is time to get the food, get the food, get the food. And in today's modern environment, in the modern food environment, you can get 10,000 calories in a couple of bags for $100, and then walk across the street and do it again.
Mhm.
So you have all of these, what the brain perceives to be scarce opportunities that are not really scarce opportunities. And so if you allow other forms of distress like fatigue or dehydration or isolation or, too many decisions to make, if you allow that to become too overwhelming or inauthentic nutrition, then the brain is kind of on a hair trigger and ready to push the rational brain out of the way.
Okay.
So that's my best understanding of it. And so I started having people attend to that, um, add a couple of 10-minute decision-free breaks during the course of the day. Put down your phone, go hide in the bathroom if you have to. Don't talk to anybody. Don't think about what decisions you're going to make whatsoever. Just take, 10 minutes to get out of the race, even 5 minutes if you can't make 10 minutes. And that would make a difference. Keep a bottle of water around all the
Mhm.
time, get some sleep. And as people would start to recognize that, especially when they were trying to extinguish a craving, like if there
Mhm.
was a bad habit they had and they wanted to extinguish it, that they needed to pay more attention to self-regulation during this period so that the their rational brain would remain in charge, then we were getting better results and people were staying with it longer. So that's the essence of what I can offer people in. There's an awful lot more to it or any given piece of it, but that's the essence of what we offer people. It's a formula for fixing your thinking and self-regulation that taken together dramatically reduces the pressure and the ability to eat beyond your own best judgment.
So do you typically work with clients one-on-one?
I have a program, excuse me, I have a program where clients can have as many one-on-one sessions as they want to over 90 days, as long as they're 5 days in between and they do a little homework in between. And they have to agree with their coach and with the homework, because it's not like we assign you a massive
Right.
assignment. Yeah. We're just trying to make the most out of the time we have. So that's what the program is. There's also group support every day of the week. So I run 3 groups a week and my coaches do the rest. And there's a lot of education involved. So what I gave you today was the 12-minute version,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
you know what I give people in the program is like the 12-hour version, where there's an hour on each topic and they really get immersed in this
Yeah,
philosophy and
that's
understand how to
fantastic.
do it. Yeah.
Now, hopefully, I feel like a good coach, and I think you're a good coach, is the goal is to get the person to be able to give them wings to fly so they don't need you constantly. But do you have people that will check in with you frequently, or have you had people that do need more hand holding along the way, and it's taken them a while to get there? And why do you think it's taken longer for some?
Um, so the answer is yes and yes.
Yeah.
Um, Dependency is a central issue in
Mhm.
addiction.
Mhm.
People have given their will over to the big food company. They've given their will over to, sponsors, and they feel like they can't control themselves. And that perception in and of itself, like, I can't control myself unless I get to a meeting. I can't control myself unless I
Mm.
call my coach. That gives your food master the belief that it's more powerful than you are.
Ah.
And so I tell people that I think of our programs kind of like training wheels. It's
Mhm.
perfectly okay to have some accountability for 90 days. Some people need 6 months or a year. Um, but I don't want to set up something which is going to be an ongoing permanent thing, because that's going to give your food master the wrong message.
Mhm.
It's also critical that you take autonomous control of your food rules. Now, if you come to me and say, I want to have 200 calories a day and lose weight really quickly, I'm going to say I can't help you without it.
Mhm.
But within reason, any nutritionally complete plan where people are flooding their body with nutrition on a regular basis, we can help people to do that. I say the program is diet agnostic, and I don't want to give you a diet, because if I give you a diet, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a dietitian. I don't have the expertise to do that. I might know a lot of stuff from what I've done, but I
Uh-huh.
really don't have a license or the expertise to do that. But secondly, even if I did, and I told you this is how you should eat, eventually eventually when you make your first mistake, your food master is going to say, oh, Dr. Livingston's diet doesn't work. We're going to have to just go to town and binge some more until we can find another one. Yippee, let's do it. Right?
Yeah, right.
There's no autonomous ownership of what you're doing. So we have people start with one simple rule of their own accord, of their own making, and build up from there. And a lot of the coaching that we do is to customize the set of rules that people really want to work with, so that it works for their diet and their lifestyle and everything like that. Yeah. And so we work with ketogenic people, we work with macrobiotic people, we work with whole foods people. I'm so sorry about that. Let me turn that
You're
off.
fine.
Look, we work with whole foods people, we work with whatever dietary philosophy you can imagine. I will tell you that the less processed foods you have, the easier it is to get control of this,
Yeah.
because industry is putting stuff in this food, or food like substances, it turns off your ability to know when you're hungry and full. I mean, you think it doesn't affect you, but man, it affects you.
Yeah.
It does affect you. So the less of that you have, the better. But we also have methodologies for allowing you to moderate that and try to get it under control. And 2 to 3 people can do that. So yeah.
Now, I know you've said you're not a medical doctor or a registered dietitian. What about people that don't realize maybe they do have an underlying medical condition and they haven't realized it yet? They're coming to you and they're not understanding why they can't flip the switch. How do you help them work through that? And has that happened on an occasion or two with you?
Well, when you come to work with us, you'll sign something that says that your doctor is aware that you're working
Okay.
with us and has evaluated that this is appropriate for you.
Okay.
Do some people sign that without actually doing it? I don't know,
Yeah.
but my
Okay.
philosophy is that the medical opinion comes first,
Okay.
and I don't want to overrule your doctor in any way. For example, I found, and I think we've worked with maybe more binge eaters than just about anybody else.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we found that when people try to lose weight quickly, that it backfires.
Hmm.
And so we have about twice the success rate if people don't lose more than a pound or two per week. But there are some medical situations where the doctor will say, no, you have to lose weight more quickly than that because we're going to do surgery or you're at risk of a heart attack or
Hmm.
stroke. And they always say, by all means, listen to your doctor about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, you know, there most people think that they eat healthy, but they could eat healthier.
Uh-huh.
And when I send them to a dietitian or nutritionist, they learn a thing or two, like even if they read all kinds of books that they didn't know. And it has more of an impact on your cravings than you think it does.
Hmm.
Um, I remember when I had to get off all salt. My blood pressure was a little high. I had to get off all salt. And I was craving this salty bean soup and salty bean soup. And I kind of thought, it's just beans and vegetables and a little bit of olive oil. What's the big deal? Um, but I was just craving it. It was driving me crazy. And I talked to a dietitian who told me to have more greens and to get this barley grass juice supplement, which I don't sell or have any affiliation with.
Okay.
And I did that and I started putting it in my smoothie. And all of a sudden, I wasn't craving the salt. So
Yeah.
what's going on there? There was some authentic nutritional need that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make all the rules that you want to. If your body really, really needs something, it's going to keep pushing for the craving. That's why I say there's some rules you can't make. I can't say I will never pee again because in the next 6 to 12
Right.
hours, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are some of the things you mentioned, the less processed, the better. What are some of the things that you keep in your house to make sure that you're not cravings, but you're eating the healthy snacks and the less processed foods?
I have a rule for myself that says I have a big healthy salad with cruciferous vegetables, usually cabbage,
Yeah.
and some apples and a nut or seed-based dressing.
Uh-huh.
I don't overdo it on the dressing because it's kind of caloric. And I find that dramatically cuts down my cravings every day. And you can see I have a lot of apples and fruit on the
Oh, you
table. That's
do? Yeah.
always available. I'm a big guy. I'm very active, so I'm eating 3,000 calories a day. But so I keep that. I'm a fan of Dr. Furman, the Eat to Live guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he has some pre-made products like this pre-made vegetarian bean chili with no salt whatsoever and no oil. And it's just easy. I just open the box, cost me like $5 a box or something like that. So it's just an easy meal. It's readily available. It keeps me full for a while. I do that. I like to make smoothies. I put all types of different greens in my smoothies, usually along with some type of fruit, something like that. Um, I don't skip meals.
Mm-hmm.
I find that even if I have a 12-hour day, that I'll make sure I carve out some time to eat along the way. So
Do you stop eating so many hours before you go to bed?
um usually I
I've
don't have
heard
a
some
rule that
different
says like,
I've heard
well,
I've heard some people say don't like a minimum of 3 hours. I talked to one person that said have a spoonful of honey or some kind of carbohydrate before hitting the sack. I didn't know if you had a thought on that or
I have a lot of thoughts on that.
okay.
Um, I believe that I know what's medical. Well, I can't say I know what's medically best because I'm not a doctor, but
Right.
after talking to a lot of people, My understanding is that the muscles that move the food through your digestive system require rest. Muscles
Mhm.
is called peristalsis. And the thing is that's responsible for moving it through your stomach and your intestines and everything. If they're always working, they're not as efficient as they could be. They require rest. And your body needs to go through a period of detoxification. And I forget whether it's catabolic or anabolic phase, but
Mhm.
there's a phase that you have to go through to lose weight. So it's easier to lose weight if you're not eating in the middle of the night. That said, I find that just about the hardest rule that people ever make is I will never eat after 7 or I'll never eat after 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it takes the longest to get successful with that. I wrote a whole book about this, about it, ending nighttime overeating. Um, and we discovered a protocol which helps with that. But I'll tell you just a couple of things about that protocol that to
Yeah.
make it easier. First of all, um, you need to have a demarcation period. So it's not always the clock. It could be when the sun goes down. It could be when you finish dinner. But you need to have something that you do that demarcates the time when you're done eating and you're going to start, winding down for the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Um, I had someone who worked for me who used to clap her hands 3 times and go, "Kitchen's closed." I,
Yeah.
another woman, when she heard the clank of the dishwasher, she would say, "Dinner and done, all
Yeah.
done, dinner and done." So you need a demarcation period like that, and then you need to have some type of a decompression period at night. A lot of times the brain presses for more food because people are not giving themselves time to decompress and let go of the day. So often that has to do with having a different room in the house that you go to, or changing your clothes, or washing off your makeup, or brushing your teeth, or just signaling yourself that there's something different that you're doing to relax. And usually it's easier to stair step your way into not eating during that decompression period than to try to do it right away. So maybe people will say, I'll never eat after 7 unless I'm socializing, like I'm out to dinner or something,
Mhm.
or unless it's decaffeinated tea with almond milk and stevia and a cinnamon stick or something, or
Mhm.
maybe they're allowed to have 2 pieces of fruit or something. And some people, I've had this with people who wake up in the middle of the night and don't even remember that they were overeating in the middle of the night.
Oh my.
The only way I've seen that work, and it's very hard. It's a very hard problem. It's called nighttime eating syndrome, and you need to
Yeah.
talk to your doctor about it because there are other things that could be behind it. But I have seen people get better with that by allowing themselves a small snack in the middle of the night,
Mm.
and they prepare it and they put it in Tupperware, and they just let themselves relax and say, okay, this is not going to be forever, but this is how I'm going to get control of this thing. And then rather than waking up with a bunch of Oreo crumbs on their bed, they wake up and they realize they had 2 bananas, and they feel a lot better about it. And then they start to be inspired. So those are a couple of things. The other things that help you with nighttime overeating are that cruciferous salad, a vegetable with, like raw broccoli, or cabbage or radishes or celery, or something that goes crunch.
Mhm.
I think we build up some oral aggression during the day, mostly because we can't bite people and people drive us crazy. I think that actually happens. I don't have proof of that, but that's why I think it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but I know that when people start having a big salad with cruciferous vegetables, add some crunch to your lunch, that they tell me it's easier for them to stop overeating at night. And I find I'm less hungry at night doing that also. And everyone who struggles seriously at night usually puts off having breakfast in the morning. And people always tell me, yeah, but that's so good for you. You have to have these long fasts. First of all, I'm not so sure that that's the case. I saw a meta-analysis which said that people who don't eat breakfast have a 25% increase in all-cause mortality. So I'm not sure that it's true. It could be true. I don't know how strong that meta-analysis really was. But secondly, I can tell you in my own personal experience, I have not helped one person, nor have any of my coaches, and I've worked with 10 coaches over the years. We've not helped one person overcome nighttime overeating if we couldn't get them to eat breakfast like before 10 o'clock. And I think the reason for that is that when you put it off for a long time, your brain knows there's a long fast.
Mm.
And so you try to stop
Wow.
try to stop
Mhm.
eating at 7, and your brain says, oh my God, I'm not going to get to eat until 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah.
Give me, nom, 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 nom. So
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, real quick before you go, what is your choice for exercise? You said you are pretty active. So what do you like?
I am. I don't want to scare people away because I really like to exercise. And I had a bad car accident, so I really have to in order to,
Oh, okay.
stay healthy. I do power vinyasa yoga in a hot room 5 days a week.
Wow.
Um,
Cool.
it's my socialization also. I really like kind of kibitzing with people. I also do cardio with light weights in that same room twice a week. Um, I have I have an assault bike
Yeah.
from CrossFit. I try
Yep.
to get a couple hours in there, and then I live on the beach, so
Oh,
I go walking on the beach. So
that's
I've
rough. A few walks on the beach, darn.
it's yeah, poor little exercising guy.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so much for sharing. Real quick, tell everyone where they can get your books and connect with you.
I want you to go to defeatyourcravings.com. Defeatyourcravings.com. Click the big blue button and sign up for the reader bonuses. You'll get a copy of the book for free in Kindle Nook or PDF format, your choice. We have traditional formats like, hardcover, paperback, Audible. There's a traditional charge for those. You will get a set of recorded coaching sessions so that you can see how this works in practice rather than abstractly in theory. And you can hear people go from feeling confused and despairing and hopeless about food to feeling confident and optimistic and enthusiastic in just one session. And you'll get a set of food plan starter templates. So regardless of which dietary philosophy you have, we've thought of some potential rules you could consider adopting so that you could utilize this in practice. It's all at defeatyourcravings.com, where you can kill your cravings eating what you love. So
Thank you.
defeatyourcravings.com.
Thank you so much, Dr. Glenn Livingston, for sharing your experience and helping people cut the cravings. Appreciate it. Follow along and listen at runradio.net.